What's up, family? I want to welcome you to the first episode of On the Black Side. Yes, hosted by none other than me, your boy, B-Mac, And today we're going to talk about, some shit that I got on my chest that I feel like I need to get off, alright? So, today, what I'm going to be discussing is, death. I want to go into the fear that we as black people have of death. And once we go into this and discuss this topic, we can see why we are held back. We can see why we are still under oppression. We can see why we haven't been able to reach our highest and our full potential anymore. Because basically, we are afraid. We filled with fear. But we filled with fear of dying. And that's the main thing that they taught us and brainwashed us when they took us from our indigenous African culture, is what we considered death. And that's why they got us. The reason they got us because we are no longer in touch with our original concept of death. So therefore we think that when we die, it's the end. You got Christians that believe when you die, you either go to heaven or you go to hell. Most religions, especially the Abrahamic faith systems, they teach you either heaven or hell. That's one of your beliefs. But in most traditional African spiritual systems, the concept of heaven and hell doesn't exist. See, in African traditional spiritual systems, there's no heaven or no hell. Life is energy. We are nothing but energy that comes from the Creator. Nature, Mother Nature is our mother. And death is simple as this. It's just another door that's in your house. Another stage of your life. Realize I said another stage of your life. It's just another journey that we have to travel. That's all death is. But we're so afraid because we don't know what that death is basically unknown. Because we really don't know what happens when our body decays and it can no longer hold our energy. You see? But we always been taught that energy is never destroyed. You can't destroy energy, it just transforms. So death is just another door. It's just a door that we have to go through. It's just a different part of living that is different than being in this physical realm. That's all it is. And that's how they got us. That's what we're afraid of. Because we don't know. And that's why the cops can continue oppressing us and killing us one by one without no real resistance. When I say real resistance, I'm talking about resistance like you see overseas in some of these countries. We've lost it. So we got to go back to our original understanding of death. To understand that it's more than just this body that we're in. You know, this body is just holding the light. The body is just holding our energy. But as we get older, our body starts decaying. But just because your body is decaying doesn't mean that the energy, your soul, is decaying. The soul is going to live on. Our soul is just going to go to a different phase, a different stage, a different part of life, people. You know? And I feel like that's our biggest problem. Because we all afraid of the unknown. So we willing to live under persecution and be satisfied and be and pasteurized and, you know, just sit around and be pacified, I meant. You know, let's all get along. Can we all get along? You know, we just gonna sit here and accept this bullshit without really standing up for our real and true rights. We got babies. We got children. We got a next generation. We're going to leave our kids to this shit? Nah. Look, man. It's time for us to re-examine African spiritual systems and get back in touch. If you don't want to do the African spiritual systems, you need to do indigenous spiritual systems here in America. Because these European or Abrahamic faith systems have fucked us up. And we need to exit all of them so we can get back our true state of mind. In the Akon spiritual system, which is an African spiritual system, they don't even have a word for devil as far as a certain entity. I think the word is blossom or bosom, which just means your evil side. The evil side of a person, but not no evil entity. So heaven or hell is not even a word in their spiritual system. Do y'all understand what the fuck I just said? In the Akon spiritual system, they don't even have a word for heaven or hell. It's foreign to them. So you telling me you wouldn't rather live in a paradigm where you don't have a word for heaven or hell than live in one that does? Because as long as you worried about heaven or hell, you're so much worried, you're confused, but when you don't even have a concept of that word in your system, your way of life, it changes you. It changes the way you live. You have to take responsibility for your actions. But you always know you have an evil and you have an upper and a lower side. You have Haru, and then you have self. That's your higher self and your lower self. That's all it is. But there's no certain entity that's controlling that. That's something that we are born with. We got to get back into African spiritual systems. I got to dig further into African spiritual systems myself. I've tapped into it, but I need to tap a little bit. I need to go a little bit deeper. Because it's more than the Akon spiritual system. Even when you deal with Kemet, their concept of death is your heart have to be weighed on the scale. The scale with a feather, which represents Mayat, truth, righteous, justice, and etc. And if your heart outweighs the feather, then your heart is consumed. It's consumed to be regenerated, though. Your heart ain't consumed so you can go to hell. Your heart is consumed, but you get resunk back to complete your mission. Because we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose. And in the Yoruba and the Igbo traditions, you are born with a name because a certain energy and spirit have sent you here. But you have to get a priest to read you, to tell you what your true African and spiritual purpose is. Now you got different systems that's traditional to African spiritual systems that does this. The Yoruba does this. Shit, I think the Geechee in South Carolina, you go down there, they have rituals that they take you through to let you know who you are. What's your purpose? The purpose of you coming here and what you're supposed to do. What type of life you're supposed to live. But we as African Americans in the hells of America, we have lost touch with all that. And that's our damn problem. We are white people in black skin. Bottom fucking line. We've been raised up in their system since we can remember. Go further with our ancestors as far as the slavery thing on up to today. We've been raised in their system, their culture, their way of life. We have adapted that. It has become a part of us. But what's happening is we're starting to reject that bullshit. Because it's not a right feeling to us. We can feel the difference. This shit ain't right. So us real truth seekers, the people who really seeking knowledge, you have to rebel against this whole fucking system. From the religious state, you got to rebel on all these damn Abrahamic religious faiths. You got to let them go, people. We got to rebel. We got to go back to African spiritual systems. We got to change our thinking. Motherfuckers want to keep the system alive and try to integrate into the system. The system was never meant for us. This system got to be tore the fuck down and rebuilt back on Maya. Justice, nature. We got to rebuild this shit. So hold on, let me get back to my point of death, because I done, went a little bit off subject for a minute. We got to be afraid of death. We got to stop being afraid of death, man. We got to start celebrating death. We have to celebrate death. Because death and life is synonymous. In nature, you have balance. Everything is balanced. You have a left, you have a right. You have a up, you have a down. That's balance in nature. Life and death is synonymous with one another. You can't have life without having death. We need to get this through our head. Somebody need to drill this in our motherfucking head. You can't have one without the other. But we celebrate life, though. That's what's crazy. We celebrate life. We even give ourselves birthdays every year to celebrate our birthday. The day that we were born. The time at which, the year and day that we were born, that we were birthed into this world. We celebrate that every year. So we are celebrating life. But why don't we celebrate death? Why don't we? Hell no, I ain't suicidal. Let me get this through y'all head. I'm not thinking about committing suicide. I love my life. But I'm just hitting y'all with some real shit. Motherfuckers don't want to talk about this. We got to get real about this situation. It's the way we think, man. We need to celebrate death. Especially when you have done your purpose. When you have found out what your purpose was and you have completed your purpose. That need to be celebrated. Need to stop all this being sad, because we are attached to the material. We are attached to the being, the body. But we ain't attached to the spiritual part of us. We ain't attached to our soul, to our energy. That's what we need to be attached to, is that eternal energy, because that eternal energy never dissipates. It's still here. So even once your body breaks down and decay and the body is gone, the energy and the source of you is still here. The problem is we don't communicate on that type of level with one another. We need to communicate with each other on a spiritual, on a true light source. We need to communicate. So when someone passes, you still can communicate with them. But no, they don't allow us to do that. That's revealing your ancestors. That's ancestor worship. That's called voodoo. Oh, that's bad. That's some negative shit. That's some demonic shit. When you want to worship and call upon your ancestors, they looked upon you as something that's wrong with that. Oh, you don't call upon your ancestors. They couldn't help you while they was here. How the fuck they gonna help you when they gone? You are stupid if you think like that. Because you're not calling on the so-called body of your ancestors. It's the essence of your ancestors. It's the spirit of your ancestors. It's the energy of your ancestors that you're calling upon. Because that energy is still here. But we have been fucked up the way we think. Excuse my cussing, y'all. You know, this is my first video. I'm going to get better at this. Through time, I'm going to get better at it. But, you know, I just woke up this morning with this shit on my mind. And I had to get it off my chest. So, family, all I'm trying to say is we need to re-examine the way we think. Our whole thought process need to be updated. We like computer. Our brain is like a computer. And you know how computers get updates. Well, we're letting the TV update us every day. The TV is downloading shit in our brain every day. The radio is downloading stuff in our brain every day. We're getting downloads every day. But the problem is we need to switch the damn programs of which we being downloaded. It's time for us to start downloading some truth into us. We need to download some truth, some realism, something that's going to liberate our minds so we can teach our damn babies. Bottom line. But you know, that's my first episode, you know. Man, I hope I ain't make a fool out of myself. If I did, oh well. But, you know, enough is enough, people, man. We got the shit going on in Charlotte. Police don't even act like they human. They don't even want to acknowledge you. They consider themselves superior to us. But yet we pay them. But it's part of a big game, you know. It's a bigger purpose, you know. But we going into the age of Aquarius. We're in the age of to know. Belief is out the window. Belief is out the window, folks. That's why we got to get back into our African spiritual systems. We got to go back to the root. We got to go back to the beginning. We got to go back to doing what they did. Because it had to work good for them for a while. Before a certain group of people, which came from them, was jealous of them, saw the glories and the wonders that we were doing, and had to try to destroy it. You know? But in closing, y'all, man, death is just a door we go through. Death is just another stage of life. And if we can look at death like that, I'm going to say this again. Death is nothing more than another stage of life. Death is just a stepping block in your life. Peace and Black Power, family.